I'm Kev the Hat, and you're watching Straight Jacket Talk. Hey everyone, welcome to Straight Jacket Talk, where it's two guys, a girl, and a horror show. My name is Kevin, and I'm joined by a guy who loves sexy magic women who wear top hats. It's Nathan!
I'm looking for Rose the Hat as we speak.
Ooh, or is she looking for you?
I'd rather she not. Kind of afraid of her.
Same. Next, I'm joined by a girl who is not afraid of room 237. It's Jill!
No, absolutely the fuck not. I'm not going in there. You joking?
What?
You don't have to be afraid of something you're not going near.
I'm afraid.
Bring on the demented lady from 237.
So scary. Actually.
For real.
Yeah.
I think she's got an issue going on. I don't know what it is, but...
I think it's that she's rotting.
That could be
Seems
it.
like an issue to me.
Too much time in the bathtub.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's literally me. That's why it scares me. It's too real.
Oh.
I'm always rotting in the bathtub.
Come out,
Actually,
your skin's green?
wow, I do wear a lot of makeup.
Man, we're learning a lot tonight. And we learned a lot because we watched Dr. Sleep from 2019. This was directed by Mike Flanagan, and he also wrote the screenplay. But we all know this is based on the book Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. It is the sequel to The Shining, right? Now, let's play the budget game. Dr. Sleep had a budget between $45 and $55 million. Do you know how much it grossed at the box office? Nathan, start us off.
I know it didn't do well, so I'm going to say 70 million.
I do not know. I'm going to say 100 mil.
You know what? You're both very close. Nathan just happened to be the closest because Dr. Sleep grossed $72.4 million.
Oh, damn.
Nathan, you almost hit it right on the head there.
Pretty close, yes.
This seems a little crazy because I thought it would have made a lot more money at the box office being the sequel to The Shining, right?
I don't know if the marketing failed it or what, but apparently it didn't do particularly well at all. The thing about it, though, too, is if you hear about a movie called Dr. Sleep, do you think that that is anything to do with The Shining at all?
Wow. That's a very good point.
It sounds like a Marvel movie.
You're
Yeah,
right.
like Doctor Strange or something like that.
I had also read, it seemed like some of the blowback too was this movie has a lot of kid deaths in it. So
Two?
that's more than a lot of movies.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. One of them's way off screen, though.
Yeah,
So-
true.
It's not that bad.
F them kids.
The baseball boy was,
Fuck them
that one
kids.
was tough to watch.
Yeah.
Nathan, put in the clip.
I must go punch that baby.
Wow.
You got that
get
Poor
banned.
Things clip on standby.
Yeah, I think I put it in like 4 times in the last episode.
Well, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, Dr. Sleep has a 78% critic score and an 89% audience score. So this is certified fresh. But what did we think of Dr. Sleep? Before we get in our review, if you guys could please hit the like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell, because when we have a new video, you'll be the first to know. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Yes, it's a privilege.
You sounded like you were under my Shining spell there for a second.
I was. You were Rose the Hat for a moment there. So,
Whoa.
or Kev the Hat.
Or both now. This was Nathan's pick for an episode. So Nathan, why did you choose Dr. Sleep for us to review?
Jill picked The Shining for her last pick. And it reminded me that Dr. Sleep exists, and that I had never seen it, and that it was on my watch list for years, and I just never got around to it for some reason. So I figured if we were doing an episode on it, I'd be forced to watch it.
You know, I love being on podcasts because they force me to watch these movies that I've had on my watch list forever.
Yeah. I like that I get to force movies I like on other people too. So
You have a little bit of a serial killer inside you, Nathan.
oh yeah, I guess so. Serial make watch movie or
Let's go with it. Let's go with it. So this is your first time watching Doctor Sleep, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Start us off. What's your overall thoughts on Doctor Sleep?
I thought it was good. I liked it. But that being said, with as big a fan as I am of Mike Flanagan and as big a fan as I am of The Shining, I had pretty high expectations that were not met. I have some issues with this movie. It is simultaneously too long and too short because I really, really felt that length. But there was some character development that I felt needed to be done that I didn't think really was. Actually, I watched a Red Letter Media video on it, and Jay said something that I totally agree with, that this would have worked better as like a Netflix miniseries, because if you break it up into 1 hour chunks, but also make it much, much longer, you can do that character development without making the audience feel the length in the same way that this movie did. So, because things like when Billy dies.
Kill yourself. No! Billy!
My reaction was, oh, well, I liked Billy. That kind of sucks. But if you watch Mike Flanagan's other work, you know that he can make a death devastating emotionally. Like if you watch The Haunting of Hill House or Midnight Mass, like he can make you want to cry because somebody died. But I feel like he just didn't have an opportunity to do that with some of these characters. So that's my overall thoughts. I should talk about the positive a little bit because I did like some of the dream-like imagery. I thought the villains were highly compelling. Rose the Hat and the Crow especially. I really liked Abra a lot.
That's saying something for you, because usually you're not a fan of kid actors. So
yes, that is true. But I thought Abra was good, and she plays Lenore in The Fall of the House of Usher, and she's really good in that too. So I was happy to see her in this movie. I was like, a good child actor. We're in business here. But yeah, those are my overall thoughts.
You know what? You hit something on the head for me there. What you're saying about what Jay said in Red Letter Media about it being broken up. I was thinking the same exact thing, and especially what made me think this way was the Fear Street series on Netflix they had done, where they broke it up into 3 different episodes.
Right.
You know, kind of like 3 little movies, basically.
Yeah.
And I thought this would have played out perfectly in that way. I mean, and like
but
you
as
said,
2.5 hours, it drags.
Yeah. And maybe that would have allowed Mike Flanagan really to, get more character work with these characters like Billy, like you said.
Which is one of his biggest strengths, in my opinion. It's one of the things I love most about his work.
Yeah, that's in the realm of his wheelhouse. So like a lot of his big successes are series. So this would obviously shine more in a series.
I like the
see what
shine more. Yeah.
I actually did not try that. I'm a little impressed with myself.
Yeah.
Jill,
dang. Yeah.
What's your overall thoughts on Dr. Sleep? Have you seen this movie before?
After we did The Shining, I think I was in the process of watching this, and then we found out that Nathan was choosing it as a pick. So I stopped watching it like dead in the middle, and then I started rewatching it again for the episode. I just kind of wanted to save it. So I'd seen half of it before. Yeah, so this is my first real time watching it. But I think that Dr. Sleep has very heavy, very strong Stephen King vibes, which the original Shining did not. And that was one of the reasons like why Stephen King hated it, because, you know, Kubrick just like made it into its own entity. And that's honestly why it's so strong. And so I thought it was going to be kind of an impossible task to compete with something like The Shining, even having someone as iconic as Mike Flanagan. It's a totally different style because Mike Flanagan does really like dark, kind of haunting, like kind of gritty tones. And the original Shining, you have like crisp, bright colors and like really sharp lines and geometry. I didn't expect to get that sort of imagery. And even when they did like the Overlook Hotel and they made it look like old and kind of dilapidated and stuff, I still like missed that vibrance, that sheen that the original Shining has. It just has this. That's the only word I have for it. It's a sheen to it that, you know, you can't get with Mike Flanagan. It's just not his style. But I think this is a very good compromise from taking, you know, what Stephen King had probably envisioned for the original The Shining and putting Mike Flanagan, who is, you know, like very prevalent nowadays, and getting him to kind of tackle this. If you accept it for what it is, it's not going to be The Shining. This is going to be very Stephen King oriented, and it's going to be very dark, Flanagan-esque. So once you accept that this is the movie that you're watching and you can like open your mind up to that, it's a better experience. But I just cannot compare this to The Shining because I love it so much. But yeah, what did you think, Kevin?
Yeah, so this is my first watch of Dr. Sleep. I years ago had tried to read the book. I think I got it from the library and only really read a few chapters and I stopped reading it. Sometimes I have that issue. Especially Stephen King. Like if you've ever read Stephen King, he takes his time to set up things, and for somebody like me who doesn't have the best patience in the world, it can be tough.
This movie takes its time setting. It's an hour before we get into the main conflict.
Yeah, and I agree. And I want to hit on kind of both your points because I'm right there with you. I think the biggest thing for me on this movie is it's stuck. It's stuck in kind of the middle a little bit. And I did see interviews with Mike Flanagan and even Stephen King too. Mike Flanagan was a little bit compromised in the vision for this movie because he had to go off of the Dr. Sleep book, right? But he also had to appease the actual movie of The Shining that everybody's seen from Kubrick. And I think you can feel that when you watch this. It's stuck in between a vision, you know?
Right.
And it feels like, I was just thinking about this now because Jill had talked about like seeing the Overlook Hotel and dilapidated. It almost feels like The Shining and the Overlook Hotel specifically is very, it's kind of like tossed in there a little bit to like this new story. And it almost feels a little out of place in a way. Because I don't know how to describe it, but it just feels like, I don't know. It almost feels like watching Halloween Ends a little bit.
Oh my God.
No, hear me out.
No, I agree. But go ahead. Yeah.
I liked Halloween Ends. I did. I'm one of the people that Halloween fans that like Halloween Ends. But Halloween Ends tells this completely new story with some of the stuff from the original Halloween series, like the evil, the black, the darkness, right? And it puts it on new characters, and you have this new story that's being told. And I know that Danny Torrance is from the original, but this feels like a completely new story. We're introduced to like Rose the Hat and these vampire type of villains, and like, you know, and it's all it feels cool and different, but then it's like you're kind of saddled with The Shining and the Overlook Hotel and that stuff.
I was thinking throughout the movie that if you rewrote it to not include The Shining, to not include the fact that it's a sequel, you could have made this story better. I was annoyed at how The Shining itself was sort of portrayed in this movie. It became a lot like the Force from Star Wars.
Yes.
That's another thing Jay from Red Letter Media said. I shouldn't say that was my own thought. But
that's a good point, though.
He liked this movie a lot better than I did. But
yeah.
I didn't like that. And if it had just been some other type of magical power that wasn't The Shining, it never would have crossed my mind to not like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know how you rework it. I'm not a writer myself, but I think it could have been better if it had nothing to do with The Shining.
Yeah, I mean, it felt hoodwinked in. Like, I think that's the word I'm looking for. Like, where like the same at Halloween Ends, like you have to get Michael and Laurie together, but why? Like, not for this story. And that's like the same with with Dr. Sleep in The Shining. I feel like it's like not for this story. And like to your point, maybe it would have worked better if they just kind of omitted that part and worked on this vision. I don't know, Jill, what do you think? Because I feel like this is a new thought I'm just thinking right now. So I haven't processed it all, you know?
One of the big disservices of this movie is that The Shining is such an iconic horror movie, right? Mm-hmm. And it's definitely a horror movie, and everyone considers it a horror movie. Mm-hmm. But after watching Dr. Sleep, I'm like, where's the horror?
Yes.
You know?
I thought that too. Yep.
There's almost like a superhero movie vibe to it.
Exactly. With The Shining. And like you said, that kind of cheapens it because The Shining itself as a concept was so scary in the first movie with like Tony and like all that kind of stuff. And in this movie, it's very like fantasy kind of.
Yeah. And I also didn't need the mystery of why the Overlook wanted to hurt Danny. I didn't need that mystery solved. I didn't want that mystery to be solved at all.
Some things, dark things, The Shining's like food. The Overlook, it was always just pictures to me. But I didn't shine like you.
One of my biggest gripes with this movie is the
fan service,
and the recasting of it. I didn't like the redoing of the scenes from The Shining either with the new actors.
I thought the casting was all right. Other than the guy who played Jack, I was fine with the recasting.
Do you know the actor who played Jack?
I know he's in the the Haunting of Hill House.
Listen to this. He was Elliot from E.T.
Oh. Okay, I've seen that guy in a bunch of stuff. Had no idea he was Elliot from E.T.
Right, like my thing specifically with that was showing Jack Torrance is I feel like you could have had that same impact without showing his face, like maybe showing him like from like the camera down from like the chops or something, you know.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. You just suggest that it's Jack. Yeah.
Exactly.
I thought the chick who played Wendy was perfect, though. I thought she was really
I don't know. It didn't feel like authentic enough.
Yes, I agree with that. It felt like a portrayal. I agree, Nathan. I think she was giving, like, when you hear her call out,
Danny! Danny! There you are! Where did you go?
Danny.
Yeah, I mean, she did. Yeah, but I think it's the physical aspect because I'm looking at it and it's not Shelley Duvall. And you can be a great actor, but the performance that she gave on the movie, you know, real trauma, like you can't recapture that. And it's horrible that she had to go through these things with Kubrick being a total asshole and everything. But her performance is unmatched. And I feel like just like trying to redo that scene like beat for beat like really cheapens it when it's not Shelley Duvall.
Anytime they showed an actual scene from The Shining, I was annoyed. I totally agree with you on that. I thought the new material, like the stuff that wasn't in The Shining with Danny and Wendy, I don't know, it worked for me.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I felt like that was a problem for the actual flashback scenes more than than the other scenes myself.
Well, to your point too about this being long and the pacing being not good, right? Why did we need those scenes of the flat, like especially with Danny and Room 237 there and all that? Like we've seen the movie, we've seen The Shining.
When they redid the axe scene with the door, and it's like, we didn't need that. We didn't need that. You have him go up to that door, and I remember immediately what happened. I don't need to see it again. This is an overall problem. The moment they get to the Overlook at the end of the movie, it is just fan service after fan service after fan service, and it is gratuitous.
It's not even good fan service.
I agree.
I hate to say this, but that's Mike Flanagan's writing. None of that could possibly be in Dr. Sleep, the book, because at the end of The Shining, the book, it burns down the hotel. So that the hotel doesn't exist.
Oh yeah.
Correct. Mike Flanagan reworked this ending, which was the big difference in the book. The other big difference in the book is in the original Shining, Dick Halloran hadn't been killed. So he is a live, living person in Dr. Sleep. So,
and he's actually able to give Danny advice for real in person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they use the ghost image, which again, that makes sense.
I'm fine with that.
But to your point, now The Shining, though, is like, it's doing so much. This magical powers.
In The Shining, it's just like, almost like Danny has intuition. More than anything. He has this feeling that something is going to happen, and every now and then he has visions. It doesn't allow him to talk to the dead, as far as I know. It doesn't allow him to move objects with his mind. It doesn't allow him to force project into another person.
Who are you?
I'm the guy that killed your friends.
It's nice to meet you. Neat trick. Haven't seen this one before.
It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff that I didn't really need The Shining to be.
It's too much.
Yeah.
And I think like you were saying too, with a series or like a limited series, it gives you some time to maybe tackle this, because like Jill's saying, this is a lot. This is, not only are you tackling an icon of horror and a new story, but this story has so many intricacies in it too, that it just seems like they try to cram too much, and it was overwhelming, I thought, for me anyways. And I think the fan service at the end would have played out a whole lot better if they didn't do the opening stuff showing the old Shining stuff. Like, because then all of a sudden you have this big reveal, like, oh my God, they're back at the old hotel. Like, to me, it already lost half of its like shock value, because you already showed a lot of it in the beginning scenes and stuff. So, I mean, get rid of all that beginning stuff. Show Danny as an adult struggling now, because we all know the story. If you're watching this movie, you've seen The Shining, have you not?
You had to have, right? I mean, if you haven't, that's on you, right? So, I thought Dick Halloran, the guy who they cast as the new Dick Halloran, was really good.
You ain't talking, huh, Doc? Weren't talking much first time I met you, neither.
I don't think he looks a lot like the old Dick Halloran, but his performance is like spot on, if you ask me.
He sounds like Dick.
He does sound like Dick, yeah.
Yeah, I had to look it up to see if it was him. He really did have the voice down, just like the lady who played Wendy had that voice down,
We've kind of hit on some negative things, but I want to get us into some positive things. And one of my biggest positives of Dr. Sleep is Rose the Hat as a villain.
She's really good.
Yeah.
She's really good. She's scary and interesting and mean and hot.
Yeah. Intriguing.
Like super hot.
Such a bad combination.
Yeah. Things could
Joe,
go
what'd you
wrong
think
with
of
that combination?
Of Rose the Hat?
I really liked her performance and like even like the lore of this like group of people just traveling around for years. And if this was a series, like we had talked about, we would have time to kind of get flashbacks of these people who are immortal, right? And, you know, see what they went through, get more of their story, like, you know, through the ages, like they do in series. And a lot of that was just lost. Like, I don't really know who the Crow is, really. All you really have time to find out is Rose the Hat a little bit.
Although I liked the Crow because I just thought their performance was good. But you're right. We don't really get to know who he is, really, other than I think he's banging Rose the Hat. I think that's all we really know about him.
That's what I was going to ask. Are they romantically involved, or is she just like, she seems like she would be romantically involved in whoever. And I believe I did see something that in the book, Rose the Hat did have sex with, what's her name? Snakebite
Andy.
Andy. Yeah. I think what's cool about Rose the Hat too, is she seems very, you know, unchained to the world, unchained to rules or regulations or anything like that, you know.
She does what she wants, yes. And she has the power to do what she wants.
Is she the most powerful, do you think? Like, of The Shining? Who has The Shining?
We're trying to talk positively, and this is another problem I have with the movie. The end of the movie, I didn't really quite understand why Danny and Abra were afraid of Rose. I had never seen anything that indicated that she had enough power to overcome them. And so that made the Overlook stuff seem unnecessary to me.
She needed to be more threatening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, she gets into Abra's head for a minute there, and Abra's like, no, and just, I mean, the line even is, she pushed me out like I was nothing.
I tried to turn around on her, and she blew me out of her like I was nothing.
Bullshit.
No, never happened to me, ever. I would have said that was impossible.
And it's like, so if Abra can just push her out, if it's that easy for Abra to just take care of that in that moment, why are we so afraid of her? I understand normal people being afraid of her, non-shining people being afraid of her, because she's fucking terrifying in a situation like that. Like if I was the baseball boy there, I can't remember his name, fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But as far as Abra and Dan are concerned, it's 2 against 1, and they both seem to be more powerful than she is in their shining. Dad took issue with that.
I get it. It's like it leads up to that, because that scene where she kind of locates where Abra is, and you see her like on the atmosphere of the earth, and she just like kind of slowly like drops in onto the street. I think that scene is so cool. It's so ominous.
So good. I don't want to say anything bad about that scene. I was that scene's great.
It sets it up, and she's not that threatening. Like they can easily overtake her without having to go all the way to Colorado to the Overlook Hotel, you know?
Yeah.
You know what? I love this scene also, and they almost teased something that I wanted to see more of, which was this good versus evil inside Abra, like with her, because she seems scary in a way.
You said you'd come back. And you did. Good.
When she was like, he told me you would come.
I was waiting for a twist where Abra was going to become evil because of some of the stuff she said. Like, you deserve this, over and over. She says that line like 3 or 4 times. You deserve this.
I heard her and she deserved it. You deserve it. I hope that hurts. A lot.
And she goes up to the Crow while he's dying and says, I hope it hurts a lot. Yeah. And it's like, I agree, but this is a clear signpost to a twist that just never came.
That would have been
fine
such a
because
better.
it was too signposted almost in a way.
No,
but...
no. I agree. That would have made for such a better ending, in my opinion, where like Danny almost has to save her from herself in a way. Like, hey, you don't want to become these people.
Right.
You know, you're good. You're good. And it's like a retribution story and stuff like that. And I don't know. I thought that would have played out better. But like that, getting back to that scene where she's in the bedroom, I mean, that was such a badass scene. And like, I love the hand getting stuck in the file cabinet.
It reminded me of the degloving. Yeah, from Gerald's game. At the end of Gerald's game
there's also one in Hush as well. Mike Flanagan loves the degloving. I
haven't seen Hush yet.
He loves it. He's so good at it.
It's a form of gore that makes me go, I don't know. Like I can watch people get their heads chopped off and you know, all sorts of terrible things, guts taken out, whatever. But you deglove a hand and I'm like freaking out a little bit. Yeah.
I thought they teased something too in this scene that never was a payoff. I don't think, unless here, because I do have a question, because they teased something where Rose says she was in my mind or my memories and she had access to stuff. But it's never confirmed that she pulls anything out of there, right?
We never, we never figure out what she saw while she was in there, if it was advantageous in any way.
Because then in the next scene, right, what's his name? Lurch there, he dies.
Grandpa Flick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was glad to see him die.
He plays the creepy guy in Gerald's game.
Oh, does he?
Moonface?
It's been a while since I saw that movie. I didn't
know. Like the guy who's biting her toes and stuff.
Oh, and it turns out that, well, no spoilers.
Oh yeah, and he also played Lurch in Addams Family. He's a scary looking guy.
Yeah. I'm kind of attracted. Kind of looks like Chris Motionless. Have a big crush on. So anyway,
gotcha.
Big, tall, lanky,
big,
type of
like I love
half
a big
dead
lurchy.
Guys.
Yes, half dead's important.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very important. But that's what I thought. Like maybe she found something in Rose's mind to like kill Lurch here, but I guess it wasn't. Nothing connected.
It didn't seem to be connected,
Yeah. I thought it was cool, though, her little eulogy she gave over him.
You watched empires rise and fall. She had the gladiators in Rome, sailed across oceans to new worlds.
Because this goes back to Jill's point of, these people lived for years, or I guess they're not people, right? What are they? Are they vampires? What are they?
Vampires drink blood. These people like to eat the shining, which they call steam, which, anyway.
They're steam
talk about. Steamy.
Ooh. It's getting steamy in here.
I really loved the scene where Rose gets into Abra's head. That, like Jill was saying, the whole she's like flying over the earth and then she comes down onto the street. That all felt very dreamlike. And then she's going through this library or filing cabinets that is Abra's memories. And she doesn't have a lot of them because she's only 13 years old, I think. But then a spotlight shines down on her. And that feels really dreamlike too. I really loved all that imagery.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think, you know, there was a lot of good scenes in this. You know, going back to like being in her head, I love the scene in the grocery store too.
Right.
And
yeah. That's super
freezer. Cool. And then her hand comes through. How gnarly was that? Like Rose's hand was on the back of Abra's head.
Get out! Get out of my head!
That was what you said, like, get out. And she was like, bah!
Yeah. Pushed me out like I was nothing.
Another thing I liked that this movie did was with like controlling the literal like monsters with the box. like the advice from Dick. And I thought that was really cool. I really wish the maze scene would have been cooler. Like if the monsters got out in the maze, because I love that freaking maze.
That would have been wicked cool.
Yeah.
Instead, what we got was a remake of the scene in The Shining, except it's Rose the Hat instead of Jack.
Yeah.
And then some like cutting, which seemed a little, I don't know. What do you think you're doing? Maybe you should, you got the drop on her, just stab her for real. I don't know.
That's something they could have done too, with a little bit better payoff when the caskets opened, or the boxes, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been cool to have like the last one be like Jack or something like that, you know, or just a little bit more payoff. I like the idea that Jack is a part of the Overlook, so he would be the bartender. Like, I like that idea.
Right.
And that whole scene, I really liked how they were talking and things like that, because it was like Danny trying to talk to his dad.
It could have been so much cooler if they didn't show his face. And I feel the same way, like when all the monsters, like the Grady twins, I was like, you are showing their faces way too long, and they don't look nearly as good as they did in the original.
Hello, Danny.
What's with that?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it was too blatant. It was too like in your face. Like, have our imagination a little bit. Like, you know, the Grady twins again in the hallway. We don't have to see this scene.
Yeah, we've seen this.
We're doing this again. We went right back to complaining about the fan service at the end. But I will say the most annoying piece of fan service in this fucking movie. It is the worst thing I've seen in my life, almost. Not really, but whatever.
Spicy Nathan.
The blood elevator.
I didn't mind that part, honestly. I thought that was probably the strongest.
Oh my God. I was mad. The blood elevator.
Throwing things.
And she was
the
just
blood
like,
elevator is
and she walks
terrifying.
away.
And to watch a character look at it bemused really was irritating to me, because it's scary. It's supposed to be scary. And you get somebody going, eh. And I get that you thought that was good, but I hated it. I hated that a lot.
I liked it because I thought, like, okay, she's so strong and powerful that she's not fazed, like, by this really sick ass blood elevator, which also didn't look as good as the original. But one thing that I think looks good was the old rotting lady. And they did show her a lot, but she looked pretty good though compared to everything else that we saw.
This is one of my problems.
No.
Because Room 237 sticks out in my mind so much as a little kid. Like, and just those images of the beautiful naked lady turning into this horrible creature, and like, like even the room just open a crack and you can just see the darkness, right? This one shows the lady in there. It's like, we're going to show you this lady to death.
You're talking about at the beginning.
Yeah. And then she's in the bathroom at the house. You're showing her to death. It makes it non-scary anymore. It
and
makes
at the end.
Yes. Desensitized. Desensitized.
You see her like 5 times throughout the movie.
Yeah. You took what's arguably one of the most scary moments, in my opinion, in film, and you said, we're going to double, triple, quadruple. What's the fifth? Fifth triple?
Yeah.
Quintuple.
They went ham.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to shove this down your throat. I don't like this. I don't like this. Don't do this to my Room 237. Please.
Aww.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
We're
I'm
getting
sorry. I'm
sweaty
talking
over
bad.
here.
I know.
No, I'm just as guilty as you are, and we've managed to turn what do you like about this into things we don't like about the movie by reminding each other of things we don't like about the movie.
Back on track. Stuff I do like. Ewan McGregor. I thought he played a pretty good role as Danny Torrance. I mean, I think he's a strong actor. You know, he gives a good performance.
And he was written really well. This movie has a lot of themes of like ending the cycle of abuse and stuff like that. And it's unsurprising that Danny in his adulthood became an alcoholic, just like his dad.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of this movie is about dealing with past trauma and how Danny is written. I keep calling him Danny. In this movie, he's Dan. He's Uncle
Doc.
Dan, in fact. Yeah.
What's up, Doc?
Yeah. The way he's written, it feels very real, and it's and perfectly performed by Ewan McGregor. He's a really good actor. I almost liked it better before we got to like the actual conflict of the movie, to be honest with you, following Dan's progress as a person. And I really liked the stuff where he was comforting people as they died.
Doc, I am so scared it's gonna hurt or be dark or be nothing at all, and I don't want
nothing to be scared of.
Yeah,
I
Using
like
his
that
power
too.
for good, you know, as a way of dealing with his trauma from his childhood.
Jill, did you like Ewan's performance as Dan?
I did. Yeah, I thought he was good. And also, I did have a note about what Nathan was just saying, like very big Stephen King-ism is, having an abusive dad and alcoholism. And like Nathan said, it's very likely that Danny would actually, inherit his dad's alcoholism, but also because we have that supernatural layer to this where his monsters are literally monsters that he can fight with The Shining.
Great metaphor, yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's one of the most powerful things about this movie is that, Mike Flanagan does a very good job with these types of themes as well, showing real practical struggle. So yeah, I think that's a really big strong point of this movie.
I gotta ask, which I don't know if I picked up on it right. Did Dan kill, not specifically himself, but did he kill the girl he slept with and her toddler?
No, he left and they died. She OD'd.
But didn't technically he kill them though?
It was like
By
a
not
Breaking
doing
Bad
anything?
situation where Jesse's girlfriend is overdosing and then Walter's in the room and he just leaves.
That's what I mean.
Kind of like that. Yeah.
Shouldn't he have called the cops or checked on her?
I don't think it's quite like that scene in Breaking Bad, to be honest.
It's not quite like it, but that's what
because I don't
thought
think
of.
he has any way of knowing that she's definitely gonna die if he just leaves the apartment.
Right. But he was gonna take their money.
You can put her money back, Doc. You can do that much.
She took mine. She probably bought the coke with it.
Doc.
You can see how pretty down of a person he is, and you can tell that he's haunted later when he finds out what happened to them.
Yeah.
It's not as extreme.
That was a terrifying scene, by the way. They haven't found us yet.
They haven't found us yet.
Ugh. And then the ghost baby.
Yeah.
Well, here's my point, right? He helped Abra find the kid, the little boy who was killed, right? Who's finding this woman and her toddler?
The cops eventually, I would assume.
But couldn't he have helped in this situation too?
I don't think his character was at that point yet. You know what I mean?
No.
He was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
And, that's his redemption is what he does. And the biggest sacrifice for everything is at the end.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Which
know what?
I won't do it.
We're getting back into spicy stuff.
I was about to go into something I don't like again. But sorry.
What do you think of the ending? What's your opinion on the ending? Because
damn
I
it.
thought it would have...
That's exactly what I was going to get into.
For me, I thought it would have played out a little bit better in this story if Dan or Danny had really sacrificed himself, for the girl, Abra, to escape.
Abra.
Or whatever. Abra.
Abracadabra.
Like abracadabra.
Yes.
I've been saying her name wrong the whole time. Nathan edited it all out.
I tried to correct you last time and you wouldn't take it.
Take it.
I don't want to take it. But I mean, it felt like a flat ending to me. I don't know. Jill, what do you think? We'll save Nathan's rant on the end.
Yeah, I didn't think the ending was particularly strong, but I kind of like that he died because I needed something tragic to happen. And that was tragic that, you know, he didn't get to really like live his life after that. And
right.
But it's cool that he's like passing the torch to Abra and, you know, the next story is hers kind of deal. I love the ending though.
Yeah. It felt flat. I mean, I would have liked to, I know they killed Arthur Crow there. He killed Abra's dad. I was thinking at that point, like, wait a minute. In my mind, I had already assumed that Danny was going to die in this movie. And then when they killed the dad, I was like, but he's going to die. And then, like, I don't know.
You're afraid she's not going to have a father figure in her life is what you're saying?
Well, because then I was worried for a second, though, like Jill's saying that he was going to survive. You know, and I'm like, what would be the point of him surviving this? I don't know. The reasoning for him having to die at all didn't really make sense to me. I have to close the door. He didn't close the door. We didn't see him close the door, did we?
It was a metaphor.
It's a metaphor.
For I need to get rid of this hotel. Right. He's saying if I burn down this hotel, the spirits will be gone. I need to close the door to this problem or whatever. But did he really? Because he's already shown that he can take care of those ghosts like that.
Right. Yeah, he's good at it.
He's really good at it. So if they come after him, he can just put them in a box and it's over. But he didn't even close the door because, again, the bathtub lady shows up and Abra has to. So the ghosts are still there. What is he accomplished? And what does he accomplish?
Oh, you're so right.
Yeah, dude, I didn't think of that. Oh my God.
He
didn't bathtub lady's back.
And you can burn down the hotel without yourself inside it as well.
Yes,
that's a possibility.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But he just sort of let the hotel take him over. He's proven at this point that he can hold the hotel off too, by the way. I don't know. That whole thing.
Yeah, that's pretty pointless.
God, I'm lowering my rating. I think I'm lowering my rating on this movie as we speak.
I am too.
Oh my God.
All these plot holes. Come on.
I'm not usually, I don't like nitpicking at plot holes a lot, but this one feels pretty bad to me.
Picking the nits. I'm there with you, man. I'm there. Here's my thing too, right? They had built up Abra like she was the all powerful, right? Mm-hmm. Like this girl, like you said earlier, has more power than Rose the Hat.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like when Dan gets into Rose the Hat's mind there and tries to trap her in the box and she flips out. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, you.
How the hell did we miss you? You and I should have met years ago.
Where have you been? And then it was like this power transfer. Like all of a sudden he's Danny Torrance is the most powerful, you know?
It is suggested at the beginning of the movie that he shined more than anybody Dick Halloran has ever seen shine. So we know he's super powerful, which brings back the problem of me not understanding why they were so afraid of Rose. Yeah.
And then you have this great villain in Rose the Hat, and she's kind of killed very weirdly, you know?
Yes, very weirdly. These spirits that Danny has no problem dealing with, Rose the Hat all of a sudden has a horrifically just can't deal with them at all. So, like, is no match at all. Again, did you really need to do this part of the movie?
I did kind of like when she was on top of Danny there, it was very kind of a sex scene almost.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I thought so.
I mean, there was
She was, like,
penetration happening.
steam was going inside her.
I was talking
was
about
like,
her
"You
finger
taste
into
like
his
whiskey."
leg, but
Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness.
God.
I liked the scene though. I did, because I thought it was, here's where I thought like Abra was going to come in and save the day, which I thought should have maybe happened, because they had built up Abra, and then in the end, it's like, what did Abra do?
what did Danny do?
He opened the boxes.
Yeah.
Or Rose the Hat opened the boxes.
I don't know. I think he opened the boxes. I don't know, man. Like, they're both built up to be these all-powerful, shining people, and then they let the hotel do the dirty work for them for some reason.
Oh my God, that reminds me of American Horror Story. They always bring it back to Murder House. You know what I mean? Because it was like so successful, because it has all these ghosts, and they bring people in and unleash the ghosts on them and stuff.
Right.
Totally what it reminds me of.
Come back home. Let's go back.
Yep.
It's funny, like, I'm trying to think of more positive things for this movie. I mean,
The murder of the baseball boy was harrowing. That shit was fucking terrifying.
yeah, it was.
It scared me. I mean, it didn't really scare me, but you get what I'm saying. It was scary. It was
bleak.
Yeah, it was super bleak and super
Like,
dark.
Realistic, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I don't like when he asks if it's gonna hurt, and she says yes.
Are you gonna hurt me?
Pain purifies steam. Fear too, so you understand.
And their children is the other thing. That's the worst thing, actually.
That it was
Yeah,
that it was a child.
I don't like seeing kids get killed, like little kids like this. You know, it's tough to
Not
watch,
in
but
that kind of way, you know what I mean? Like if it's if it's like kind of campy and gory, like sure, but like this is just too real, I think.
Over here defending Terrifier 3, are we, Jill?
I was actually thinking about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Yeah,
But
that kid
yeah.
deserved to die.
I must go punch that baby.
You know, all that kid did, all that other kid did was play baseball well.
Yeah.
You know.
Think about Willy Wonka, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck them kids.
I must go punch that baby.
Fuck them kids.
you know the scene where the kid's playing baseball and the guy in the crowd is talking about how this kid must know what the pitcher's thinking.
I know this particular piece of trivia, yeah.
Yeah, the actor who's portraying that dad, or just, I guess, spectator, is the same actor who played Danny Torrance as a kid, Danny Lloyd.
Ah, cool.
What I had heard, too, is he did, like, literally nothing after The Shining.
Yeah, no, he just left Hollywood after The Shining.
Child actors be like that.
The ones who want to stay sane.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Working with Kubrick as a 7-year-old or whatever he was at the time must have been.
Yeah.
That'll get you to leave Hollywood real quick.
He's done.
Yeah.
Supposedly, after this, they had set up Mike Flanagan to do the prequel, which would have been called Halloran, on Dick Halloran. Is that a story you'd like to see play out in a movie?
No.
I agree. Just stop it while we're ahead. You know?
That sounds boring. I don't want to see like child Dick Halloran be abused by his grandfather. Like how much meat is on the bone of that story?
Yeah.
And we only know that he was abused by his grandfather because of a few stray lines in this movie. So like, what conflict is there? How do you turn that into a horror movie?
Leave The Shining alone.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jill. I'm with you. I thought I could, it's Mike Flanagan. If anybody can do it, it's him. No, nobody can do it.
I mean,
it's impossible.
Yeah.
In fairness, right, at the end of our Shining review, we did say we didn't really want to see a remake of The Shining. And at times, this felt like not a remake, but like a reimagining of things, of events. And like we kind of saw that play out a little bit. And then I agree, like as seeing that, I don't want to see anymore. Like I want that original Shining. I want that to be my lasting memory.
We have that. I have it on Blu-ray. It's right behind me over here.
That's all we need.
There's a 4K out there that I need to buy eventually, you know?
It's crazy to think, though, if this movie had made more money at the box office, we would probably have Halloran by now.
It's kind of crazy to me. Everybody likes this movie more than we do, from what I can see.
Everybody?
Dude, every review that I looked up on... Every review I looked up on YouTube was positive, way more positive than we were.
Nathan, you know I'm going to give it 5 stars.
No, I'll be like, but Dr. Chalice. Stop it.
I don't quite understand why, though. Like, it's got a really high Rotten Tomatoes score, and all the horror fans seem to like it.
Do you think also...
Am I missing something?
Us having watched The Shining, like, very recently.
Yeah.
You know, other people out there might be starved for, like, more Shining content. And the last time they saw it was, like, you know, in their adolescence or something. Do you think that maybe, I don't know, that play... But it shouldn't, but am I a little...
Yeah, maybe.
I still don't, like, change my opinion, but...
You know what Jill had brought up at the beginning, too? Is this a horror movie?
Yes.
It's adjacent.
Yeah, I mean, I like to make the definition of horror broad because genre is really not that important to the topic. So when I ask, is this a horror movie? It's usually about something that most people would not consider horror. Like, is Jurassic Park a horror movie? Fuck it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So if Jurassic Park is a horror movie, this is a horror movie.
It's horror, but it's a follow-up to The Shining, which is one of the most iconic horror movies of all time. So like,
and it's traditional horror too.
Yeah. So this it's so like, it's such a stark contrast.
Yeah.
That's very good point.
Adjacent. People call Scanners a horror movie, even though it, you know, it's very clearly thriller-ish. You know, there isn't a lot of like, there's no guy running around with a knife killing people. It's got gore, but does gore make a horror movie? So if Scanners is a horror movie, this movie reminded me a little bit of Scanners. Now that I think about it, the plot is the psychic battle thing. That's very Scanners.
Similarities.
So
listen to what I think. Have you guys seen The Black Phone at all?
No, I've heard it's good.
This reminded me a lot of The Black Phone, but I actually liked The Black Phone way better. It was a simpler story.
Oh, yeah.
And The Black Phone was written by Joe Hill, Stephen King's son. Before he wrote Dr. Sleep. I'm telling you, there's some similarities in this, but it's simple, right?
You know,
simple.
Who's going to be Joe Hill's, biggest influence at the end of the day? It's going to be Stephen King, right?
But like I said, Stephen King wrote Dr. Sleep after The Black Phone. Maybe his son influenced him a little bit. And that's why Stephen King movies or books are so hard, in my opinion, to put into movies. Because there's so much, and that's why a lot of them go to miniseries and things like that.
They're all so similar. Like, there's always like alcoholism. There's always like going to the East Coast and like traveling for work. And then like, I'm a writer. I'm going to go to Colorado to write.
There's always baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very American.
It's almost always set near Maine.
Yep.
Which is where he lives.
Yep.
I do love Stephen King, though.
Yeah. It's formulaic, though.
Yeah.
I got a hot take. I like Joe Hill better, his books.
Oh, really?
Even though he doesn't have as many, right? His
never read it.
It's not as broad.
So. Right.
Man, I love Joe Hill. I really do, because and this is kind of a great example, I guess is the word I'm looking for, of like we're talking about with The Black Phone and this. Dr. Sleep's more of a grandiose kind of story that is a bunch of things, whereas Joe Hill's like boom, I'm making things simple. This is it. Which it isn't always good. I get that, especially in a book. Like, you want some, more in depth and things like that. But for somebody like me who's not a huge avid reader, but like will enjoy reading, like, it's a good just boom. Sorry, I am going off.
No, I just wanted to add to that. Like, not all books are like that, though. There's plenty of kind of like slasher movies. There's the book form of that where it is just like very simple. And sometimes people just want like a fun read. And there's nothing wrong with that. Same thing with like movies. If you're going to have all that like extra story, those extra layers, you have to do it effectively. And if you don't, it's going to drag and people are going to notice and people aren't going to like it. And that's why Black Phone it works so well, like they know their limits to the story. They keep it simple. They keep it effective. It all comes down to like making it all blend together, like seamlessly.
Anything else on Dr. Sleep?
The image of Danny and Wendy burning in that fire at the end was super lame.
I thought it was cute. That, if he's going to die, his mommy is there.
I guess.
I thought it was sweet, endearing, wholesome.
I don't know.
Man, Jill's defending it.
Where's your soul? Come on.
It ended an hour and a half into the movie. It went away. It left me. My soul.
Damn.
Yeah.
We're on to quote or kill. My quote. Actually, there weren't many deaths in it. I mean, there was like the little kid deaths, but I'm just going to pick a quote on this one. And my quote is when Danny is talking to Jack at the bar. And Danny says,
"Man takes a drink. The drink takes a drink. And then the drink takes a man.
Medicine is what it is. Bona fide cure-all. The mind is a blackboard. And this is the eraser."
I liked that little back and forth there. Kind of
I like that a lot too.
The demons,
It's a good description of alcoholism. Ooh. The way, the drink takes a man is, it's an apt way of talking about how alcohol, for an alcoholic, can just take your mind and just take it away, and everything becomes about the alcohol.
Right. It's powerful, I thought,
Yeah.
Nathan, how about you? Quote or kill?
Dan gets to the town where he settles and he meets Billy at the miniature city with the train. And Billy's asking him, why'd you come up here? And Dan says, running away from myself, I guess. And Billy says,
running away from yourself. There's a pickle. You take yourself with you wherever you go. Ain't that the bitch?
It's a great quote, I think, about somebody who is having trouble, addiction troubles especially, or I'm sure it seems like it works for mental health issues probably as well. When you go somewhere to try and solve a problem that is part of you, you just take that problem with you. And Billy understands this already because he's gotten sober, and he's saying, no, dude, you're still you. You've still got these problems, even though you're here instead of there. You've changed nothing. And that eventually leads to Dan getting sober, going to a program. Yep. I thought that was a good quote. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite kill is one of the only on-screen kills you see, and it is the baseball boy getting stabbed over and over. That was another really good child actor there. He made me believe him. And it was harrowing and terrifying. It made me real mad at Rose the Hat, which you want. I really liked these villains. I really liked them a lot in that I hated them. I loved to hate them. So, and that was just the culmination of that.
God, you both just said such profound things. And when I was watching this, no death or quote really stuck out to me. So I'm going to deflect this question for now. Okay. But I totally agree with what you guys said. But I did have a what the fuck moment. And that was when Abra, they're driving to Colorado, she just like calls her mom, leaves her like with a one-word answer, I'm okay, hangs up, throws her phone out, like, and crushes it or whatever.
Hi, Mom. Oh, thank God. Abra, are you okay? Where are you? I love you.
Or just throws her phone away, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
I thought
Ouch.
that too. I thought that too. Like, I was thinking as the mom, you come home, you find your husband dead, and
Yeah.
Your daughter's
you
gone.
don't know where you're right. You don't know where your daughter is. You call her, and she just says one line to you, and that's it. Like,
The
my
line
thought
was,
is,
I love you, by the way. At least it was that.
Oh, okay.
But
still, I love you's worse than I'm okay. I love you is like,
yes, it doesn't answer
hey,
your question at all. That's
this
right.
is at
That's
the
true.
end of my life. Like, I've been kidnapped or like some shit. Like, I'd be
Right.
out of my mind. You're right. That
Yeah.
was a what the fuck moment. That was a what the fuck moment for sure. I
Yeah.
thought,
And she didn't
you
need
know,
to do that either. She could have explained everything. They had plenty of time. They were on their way
and
to
her
Colorado.
mom knew what was going on, kind of. Like, some of what was going on, right?
I don't think she knew. She
didn't.
Not that part, but she was in on some of the stuff, right?
She knew that Abra had powers.
Yeah.
And that's about it. She didn't know about any of the
Oh,
stuff
it was
that
the
happened.
dad then?
Yeah, because she had the mom had
Okay.
gone away to take care of her mom who's sick.
Yeah.
So she had left.
Okay.
Yeah, she was not around for any of the discussion about them being chased or anything like that.
That's even
So,
worse.
Yeah. So she has no idea why her husband is dead. Who killed him?
You know what? This goes back to why was this scene even in there? It didn't have to be in there.
Or you could have elaborated
are-
on it if you had more
Yeah.
time, like in maybe a series.
I have a hot take, actually, before we get to our final rating. I actually thought that whole scene where they went to the woods and Abra was sitting on the bench and all the bad guys came out. What's her name? Snakebite.
Snakebite Andy
was going up to her and she's like, oh, this is easier than I thought.
The way they talked you up, I was thinking it'd be a little harder than that. The fuck?
Parlor tricks, just fucking parlor tricks.
I thought that whole scene was actually better than the than the ending.
Yeah, and when you get to that scene, you've still got like another 40 minutes left in the movie, and it felt like a climax, and I don't think you really needed to add 40. But if that scene was the end of an episode of a show,
ooh,
you could add a whole another climax episode.
Oh man, especially Billy killing himself.
Yeah, and that's again, Billy killing himself, that scene could have been devastating if you had allowed Mike Flanagan to take the time
to cook.
To cook. But instead you got 2.5 hours.
All right, let's get on to our final rating. We're going to rate this movie from 1 to 5 stars. 5 is Rose the Hat being super evil and astro projecting. 1 is all the nonsense with the fan service and poor lady from the bathtub being shoved down our throat 8 million times. I am lowering my rating a little bit on this because I just think there's too many things that I didn't like, and the biggest thing for me on these movies is always rewatchability, and this one's a tough one for me to rewatch. Now, in saying that, though, I don't think it's a terrible movie. Like, obviously, I think there's some great scenes in this. I think, that little kid, I mean, that is brutal and dark. And I thought Ewan McGregor was great. I thought Rose the Hat was great. Some of it I wanted to see more. Some of it was too long. I was stuck in the middle of this. And originally I had this as 3 stars, which was kind of in the middle a little bit.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I'm going to go down to 2.5 stars. Listen, I don't think it's a bad movie, but it's just one that I'm not particularly wanting to ever see again. I don't know. I don't have the want to see this again. Yeah. You know why too? Because it takes away from The Shining for me a little bit. I want to think about The Shining and watch The Shining. I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
And I know I'm sounding like I'm complaining, so let's get off of me. Jill, what's your final rating here?
My biggest problem with this is detaching it from The Shining. But if you can detach it from The Shining and just appreciate it for what it is, I think it's an effective movie. I don't know, nothing really like terrible to say about it, but also I don't think it's like great either. So it's pretty just, it's okay. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. I just want to compare it to The Shining, but I did like parts of the movie. I thought Rose the Hat was a really cool villain, but I think like we talked about, this just would have worked better as a series, and also if it pushed away from trying to add in the Shining stuff from like the Overlook.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's okay. It's a 3 stars. What about you, Nathan?
What's funny is at the beginning of this discussion, I was also at 3 stars, just like Kevin, and I am also lowering it to 2.5 stars.
Nathan, we're buddies.
Hey, we're
Shining
buddies. Yeah. Great minds
We got
think
the
alike.
shine.
Also, bad minds think alike. That's probably us. But yeah, this is my least favorite thing I've ever seen from Mike Flanagan. It drags pretty bad. You know, I just keep going back to it was simultaneously too long and too short, and especially like a half an hour is dedicated to nothing but fan service in a 2.5 hour long movie. I liked the villains. Some of the psychic battle stuff was fun. The dialogue is really good, although sometimes there's a couple of monologues in there that would have, again, worked better if it was in something like A Midnight Mass or Haunting of Hill House. I mean, I'm right in the middle. I don't think I'm going to end up watching this again either, to be honest with you. I watched it the first time a couple of days ago. I always watch it once if it's a movie I haven't seen, I always watch it once without doing any note taking, and then watch it again for note taking. And I was kind of dreading watching it again today to take my notes. Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, I got you. I think, overall, I think between us, we're pretty close. Me and Nathan have 2.5. Jill's at a 3. So
yeah,
it's not like this was a terrible movie by any stretch, but I think especially if you're a huge Shining fan, like all of us, I think we all rate it really high within 4.5
it was 2 5s and
to
you
5
were on
stars.
4.5. Yeah.
So
Losers.
I think if you're like a big Shining fan, okay, yeah, you have to see this because it's the sequel. But at the same time, I'm guessing you're probably going to be somewhere where we are too with it.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, But, maybe it's worth a watch and just see what you think of it and go from there. But it is a long watch, so go into it.
2.5 hours. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
A lot of my favorite movies are that long and longer. But I know when I go to watch one of those movies, it's a commitment for a giant chunk of your day. So,
right.
That's the biggest reason I don't think I'll watch this movie again is because, if it was an hour and a half, something I liked this much, maybe I'd watch it again.
And listen, if you love this movie, if you've seen this before and you're like, man, these people, I don't know what
then
they're talking about.
You.
Right. No. Good for you. Good for you. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Nathan gets riled up. Don't listen to Nathan. Be proud of liking this,
Right.
Now, before we end our review, we want to let you know what we've been up to. What have we been watching or listening to? And I'm going to start this off because I watched a Mike Flanagan movie. I watched Hush because it is streaming on Shudder. So I was like, I have not seen Hush.
Oh, it's on Shudder now?
Time. Yeah.
I got to watch it.
It's so good. I love Hush. I love it, love it, love it. I saw it a long time ago, but then once it got I saw it multiple times when it was on streaming, and then it was taken off, and I was like, what the heck, man? Like,
right.
And I hadn't seen it in such a long time, but it's such a good watch. Like, I forgot so much about it because I'm like, wait a minute, like this movie's like quick in a way, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, but like it feels quick. It's hard to explain.
And Kate Siegel is great. Dr. Sleep had a very alarming lack of Kate Siegel in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate Siegel is great. She's great in this. It's such a small cast of her and this basically the serial killer and the cat and mouse that they play. I mean, it's phenomenal. This makes me want to see Mike Flanagan attempt a movie like Halloween and doing because he gets that tension stuff so good in this. You know,
that is his vibe.
Yeah. He has it down so much in this. And it's funny because I was watching this and my wife, who hates horror, she had kind of walked in the room and like she stood and like watched a lot of this movie because it was like pulling her in, even like, you know, and getting her involved. Like, oh my God, like, you know, it has that kind of old school, like, no, don't do that, do this. And it's almost like a pick your own adventure book. Like if you were stuck in a house, not to give anything away too much on this movie, but if you were stuck in a house with a serial killer coming after you, what would you do? And it kind of puts you in that position. And it's cool that, you know, you get to kind of see different things play out, and it's done really well. I also watched a movie called Frogman. I thought it was called The
I saw
Frog
this on
Man.
your letterbox and I was like, what the fuck? What is this?
Listen, I am not a huge found footage fan, but I've seen two great found footage movies this year in Milk and Cereal and Frogman. I cannot recommend Frogman enough.
Really?
I really enjoyed Frogman. It was way different than stuff I had ever seen. It's out there. It's very out there. It's kind of like, I think I described it on my letterbox as like Blair Witch with like an actual kind of payoff. And I don't know, it's a cool movie. Check it out. My last thing I saw was actually, I did see Halloween Kills, which I texted Nathan on. I rewatched that.
I don't rewatch movies I don't like. Why do you do it?
Because I like to see if I'm wrong or if I, you know.
How many times have you seen it? Are you going to change your opinion like the fifth time? Or
this was my second time.
Okay. I
Actually, it did get a little better for me.
Okay.
Not that I think it's a great movie, but it did get a little bit better for me. I can now get through it. But the last thing I want to talk about is there is kind of a family Halloween movie on Netflix called The Curse of Bridge Hollow, which has one of the Wayans brothers. I think it's Marlon. I'm not sure which Wayans brother it is.
To be honest with you.
It's one of the best family Halloween movies I've seen in a long time. It just came out a few years ago, I think 2022. It's on Netflix. Check it out because it's a good watch, especially if you got kids and things. There's some scary stuff in it, but like, it was a good time. I enjoyed it. I've rewatched it myself. It has such a good Halloween spirit, you know?
Nice.
Which I love.
Yeah.
And atmosphere, which is key. All right. How about you, Jill? What have you been up to?
I did some reading. So the first book that I read is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. And it is set in New Orleans, like way back in the day. And it follows this necromancer who ends up going to this like haunted manor, and they have this like big trial thing where you can like win a prize. You get a deal with the devil, so you can ask for like whatever you want. It's kind of like Hunger Games, but each trial is based on one of the 9 circles of hell. And there's like, this whole hierarchy of like phantoms and ghosts and ghouls and apparitions and devils and like all this kind of stuff. And it's actually like really well fleshed out. I read it. It's like 400 pages, like almost 500 pages. And I read that in like a couple of days. It was just so good. And there's like sexy phantom sex.
I love sexy
if
phantom
you're interested,
sex.
Yeah. That's the best kind of phantom sex.
The best
a
kind.
lot of cool stuff you can do as a ghost. I'm just going to say that. Okay.
Lots to look forward to.
The other thing I read is Gloom by Ricky Olson, who is guitarist of Motionless in White.
Ooh.
And I'm going to go see them tomorrow. So I'm going to bring the book with me to this after party where the drummer is like DJing. So I'm going to bring my book with me and see if he's in there, see if I can get it signed. That'd be so cool.
That would be awesome.
But they're like kind of horror adjacent. It's like very Stephen King vibes, but also like, I don't know if you guys have ever read anything by Paul Tremblay. Like really disgusting horror. It's really gross, but it's like a lot of like real life stuff, not like slashers and killing. It's like I shit my pants when delivering a pizza in someone's yard or something. You know what I mean? Like disgusting.
I hate when that happens.
You can't eat the pasta in the bread bowl, apparently. So it's really gross. But it's interesting. It's just not for everybody.
Right.
I watched a lot of stuff because I was trying to watch a movie for every day of October, and I'm like a week behind on that. So I won't say everything. If you're really interested, you can check out my Letterboxd, which I think is Living Dead Jill with a G. I watched Misery today for the first time ever.
So good.
Yes.
So good.
I freaking loved it.
Long.
Yeah, Stephen King vibes were high today.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is so good. I can't believe I've never seen it. I love Kathy Bates.
Oh, yeah. She's so good in that movie. She's perfect.
She is amazing.
Movie. Yeah.
National freaking treasure, Kathy Bates. And the other one that I'll talk about is I watched Immaculate. I think it's like finally streaming on Hulu. I've been wanting to see it because I love Sydney Sweeney. You guys might actually like it because it was really gnarly, but it also reminded me of Suspiria, like original Suspiria. But instead of a dance academy, it's like a nunnery, and also kind of like nun vibes, but it's not like that kind of like paranormal thing. It's more like, oh, there's a cult and I don't have control over my own body, which is really scary as a woman. Like in today's day and age, it's really terrifying. And it's really terrifying to see someone go through kind of a forced pregnancy. And there's just some really like gory shit at the end. But it was really good.
I've been wanting to see that one for a little while.
Yeah.
So now that it's on Hulu, I guess I'll probably end up checking it out.
And lots of Italian, so it's like very Suspiria to me because I watched Suspiria in Italian. But yeah, what have you been up to, Nathan?
Yeah, so I've watched a few movies. A couple of weeks ago, I watched Blood Simple, which is the Coen brothers' first movie, actually. Oh. So it's a really, really low budget. They were hanging out with Sam Raimi back then and doing sort of similarly budgeted work. The Coen brothers have always been more grounded than Sam Raimi. Of course, there's nothing supernatural in this movie. But it's basically about a woman whose husband is an asshole and she's having an affair because her husband is an asshole. And then her husband hires a hitman and things get crazy from there. It's a very simple sort of premise, but it goes on all sorts of crazy twists and turns. So I can't really explain the plot past that without doing bad spoilers that you don't want, because it's a great movie. I like it a lot. I think it's probably up there with Fargo for me as far as Coen brothers work goes.
Oh. Dang.
Yeah, it's not quite No Country for Old Men, but it's really, really good.
Not again. We are not having this conversation again.
I didn't mention Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That was the one we had the conversation about. But,
yes. It's coming. Here we go.
I have also watched season 4 of Only Murders in the Building, which I don't know if either of you have watched that show at all, but
I've heard so much about it, though.
It's so good. Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. And the past 2 seasons have had Meryl Streep. And and she's Meryl Streep. She's one of the best. It's this hilarious comedy about Steve Martin Short, and Selena Gomez start a true crime podcast that's only about murders that happen in the building that they live in. Luckily for them, a whole bunch of murders have been happening in the building they live in. But they solve the mystery because they're personally involved in the, and it's just hilarious throughout. I think the 4th season was probably the weakest, but the other 3 seasons are so strong that doesn't mean it's bad. So if you have some spare time, the episodes are only a half an hour long, so it's really only 3 or 4 hours worth of television. It's per season, but it's pretty great. I also watched Godzilla, Kong, The New Empire.
Dang.
Why?
Because it's fucking great. This movie. Okay. I like the American Godzilla movies, and I don't care who knows. I think they're great.
Okay.
But this one is the best one because it went so far off the rails. I mean, if you want to see a giant monkey riding an ice dragon into battle in a gravity vortex that was created by moving stones around in the hollow earth, this is the movie for you.
Sign me up.
I think I saw that in theaters when it came out.
It's just
pretty sure.
Like Rio de Janeiro, just gone. Rome, gone. Cairo, just gone. They keep talking about how fucking Godzilla is their savior because they save them from all these monsters. And I'm just sitting there. He saves them from all these monsters. And it's just like, what's he saving though? Everything's just, by the time they're done, everyone's dead. Every time Godzilla does anything, it is a nuclear bomb level disaster.
Dude, it's the Avengers. Both Godzilla.
And he sleeps in the Coliseum, which is hilarious. He just takes naps in the Coliseum.
Wouldn't you?
And the last movie I want to talk about, I think, is the best movie of 2024.
Whoa.
It's a movie called Hundreds of Beavers.
Is it an adult movie?
No. It is a black and white, silent slapstick comedy. And it is one of the funniest things you'll ever see in your life, in my opinion. There are, in fact,
check it out.
There are, in fact, hundreds of beavers in this movie. But the beavers are played by dudes in mascot costumes. So
this was made in 2024.
Yes, it is an independent movie. It was made for about $150,000.
Spent on the
costumes.
Mostly on the suits. No, apparently they only had six suits, and the rest is done in After Effects. But it's about a man.
It's 6 people.
Literally. It's about a man who was just having fun selling his Applejack, getting drunk on the Applejack. And then the beavers ruin his Applejack orchard, and he has to figure out how to survive in the wild without his Applejack. And it's very Looney Tunes, like he is Wile E. Coyote and he just keeps failing. Except unlike in Looney Tunes, animals like actually die in this movie, and there's a couple of people who die in the movie. And it just keeps escalating and escalating to the point where...
You said it was a slapstick comedy.
Yes, yes, it is a slapstick comedy.
Why are people dying?
Because it's
I was
funny.
going to say, is it a slapstick to you, but nobody else?
No. This is very much in like the style of like Charlie Chaplin. There's so much that is funny about it that I just don't want to spoil that.
Listen,
it's on
color
Amazon
me
Prime.
intrigued.
It's great. It's one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. I rated it 4.5 on Letterboxd there. And I'm actually, it's so low budget that I kind of think that I have 1 like on that review, and I almost think it was somebody involved in the film. Because his name is...
You're their biggest fan.
His name is Lake Mish Mondon. And the film that they did before Hundreds of Beavers was called Lake Michigan Monster. But if you look at his Letterboxd, it's just like he's reviewed hundreds of beavers like 8 times. And in his favorite films is Lake Michigan Monster and hundreds of beavers. I don't know. It's actually made decent money for what it is. If you look at the Rotten Tomatoes for it, it's got like a 98% with over 100 reviews.
Where is this stream? Is it streaming?
It's it's on Amazon Prime now.
All right. Well, hopefully some of our viewers will see this and will flood the.
It doesn't need my help that much. I mean, it for what it is, it has been extremely successful. They've made money on this film for sure. They've made millions of dollars on it, I think. So
I gotta see it.
Everyone should see this movie. You should show it to the Pope.
Everybody.
The Pope should see this movie.
Well, Pope, if you're listening, go see this movie.
And that's it. That's everything I've been doing.
All right. Well, that does it for our review of Dr. Sleep. We'll be back soon with another review, and we're going to be doing Jill's pick, which is The Witch, or The Vitch? The Vitch.
It's The Witch.
Why do I sound like a Dracula?
It's The Vitch.
There we go. But until then, shine on. No, back to the padded room with you.